So this is part two about speaking on the interview, the conversation between Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin. I'm going to talk about the portion that made me actually look up this clip, or the full interview, was a clip that, showed up a lot on Instagram, probably on Facebook, where Nikki is speaking to James Baldwin and basically is saying, I need you as a man to lie to me. Like, give me the same type of smile and the same fake laugh and happiness that you give the people at the job. Like, you fake happy for people at the job and you come home and you're miserable with me, and I deserve some sunshine from you too, even if it's not real. And James Baldwin is like, I can't lie to you. I love you. I can't lie to you. And she says, of course you can, and you will. Again, reiterating, you lied to the guy at the job who's your boss. You're not happy to see him, but you smile at him. Why can't you smile at me? You love me, but I get the worst or the least of you. And James Baldwin responds, and he's basically saying, you know why I'm doing what I'm doing at the job, because we need the money. I have to support you. I'm not smiling at him because I want to. And I can't stand to be at work and perform all day, give a performance, a fake performance of being happy at work, and then come home and have to fake being happy with you as well. Like, one, I should be able to tell you the truth, and two, because I'm truthful, I should be able to, express how I really feel when I get home. And she responds basically saying, you have to give two performances. Maybe the one that you should stop doing is the one at work. And he comes back and is like, but who's going to pay the bills? I have to do this because the bills need to get paid. We need to eat. We need to have somewhere to stay. The rent needs to get paid. The baby needs clothes. Like, there's a reason why I'm putting on the performance that I am at work. And basically what she's saying is, I understand why you can't have a job, or why you can't get a job, or why you can't keep a job. But I don't need you as a provider. I need you as a man. Basically divorcing the role of a man as being a provider. And that's kind of what I want to talk about. I've experienced in my lifetime what it feels like to be a man with children and a wife making close to minimum wage. And I was in the military, so I had benefits, but early on in the military, any military member can tell you this, you don't really make a lot of money. You can qualify for public assistance in the military, depending on what rate you start out as, if you have a family. The military is not like college. People don't enter the military, straight out of high school all the time with no responsibilities. And it takes time for you to get to a place and amass the benefits that are going to help your family. So So for a long time in the military, matter of fact, for a majority of the time that I was in the military, I had a second job, which, I'm not, it's not something, it's not a badge of honor. It was a necessity. But part of the drive was because I was taught and raised by a mother and a father who let me know that it was important for me to be able to take care of myself first. And if I decided to, join with a woman and have a child, that it was my responsibility to provide for them as well. And not necessarily be the sole provider, but I needed to do my job and provide, as much as I can as a man in regards to contributing to that household. And again, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that, though, within that time frame, especially early on, as we're struggling, me and my wife at that time, we went through it. We weren't staying in the best of place. Our place, it wasn't what either of us wanted, but it was all that we could afford at the time. And it wasn't like the happiest of times. And I definitely felt responsible. I definitely felt like, again, that was my drive to keep going and to work more and to just make sure that whatever I could do to have us in this situation for the shortest amount of time possible, I was going to do it. So when I hear the conversation, and I don't know if it's a timely thing, because, if I'm being 100% candid, my work ethic or my desire to never be broke came at the expense of the time that I was there available for my family, my spouse, my wife at the time, and my kids. And I think it's always been a delicate balance, between what I got to do to go out and get what's necessary versus my participation as a father within my household, a father and a husband. So this conversation in the interview, it really hit for me, because it's like, it gets at a deeper problem. Or not a deeper problem, but it touches a deeper situation that I think can be expounded upon in many different areas within a relationship. And it's the contrast between how each individual self-identifies and self-actualizes themselves versus what their partner identifies and actualizes as the traits that they look for in a partner. So it's like there's a separation in what James Baldwin and what most men are taught or led to believe are the characteristics of a man, the role of a man within a relationship, as a father, as a husband, as a provider. The things that we're supposed to do that validate you as a person, as a man in society first, and then with your family most importantly. So it's like, if you don't have a job and you can't support your family, you're not, quote unquote, manning up, right? And then on the other side is the woman, Nikki Giovanni. She's basically saying, I don't identify you as solely as a provider. I understand if it's difficult and you're not able to give us everything it is that we need. But I need you to still be all of the other things that a man can be. And I'm not going to hold it against you if you can't provide for us the way that I want you to or the way that you would like to, because I understand why you can't. And I think that is the division, because I don't know. First, I don't know if there's too many women who believe that, who feel that, especially in 2024, that, you know, even though it's very difficult out here, if you don't have a college degree, and I don't even say a college degree, if you don't have a trade, if you don't have a skill that you're certified in, licensed in, that you have experience in, and that's not even guaranteed. If you're not in certain industries, work out here is crazy. There's always been college students who have degrees and are working in areas outside of the degrees for minimum wage or maybe a little bit more, maybe even a little bit less. College is not a guaranteed path to prosperity. And there's something to be said with how people actually choose what degree they're going to go to, and if that's actually going to lead to employment or a career of any kind, right? But basically what I'm saying is it's not as difficult as the 70s were for a person to get a job, but it's not super easy. And I just don't believe that there are women who are, again, not that you're accepting a man that's lazy, but understanding that it's difficult to get a job for anyone, and don't consider being the provider as a quality that is required of their man, or that is the most important characteristic of that man. What's more important is that their paternal influence, their manliness isn't stripped from the relationship and the family because they can't fulfill one role, such as being a provider. But they're still going to be there for the kids. They're still going to show up for the wife. They're still going to do all those things that are included in their masculinity outside of being a provider. But I think what's not being taken into account is there's a level of self-esteem. There's a level of there's a level of how we identify with ourselves. What validates us to ourselves, our own existence. What validates our existence to ourselves. It's difficult to divorce yourself from that, because throughout your life you've basically created a certain type of, you've created in your mind what success at being you looks like. The successful version of you, like the most high quality version of yourself as a person. You've programmed what that looks like in your mind, how much money you make, how you would dress, how your body looks, the type of lifestyle you live, the type of woman that you have, how many kids you would have. Like we all have a picture, usually, from, what we see on TV to what our parents teach us to what, society shows us to what our friend groups expose us to our career choices, and all of these things lend themselves to shape, outline, shape, color, shade, the picture of success to us. And I think it's a difficult task for anyone to live their life that way and then meet someone and all of a sudden we think, you've met me in this place at this stage of my life, at this juncture of my journey to become the best version of me. Almost implicitly, you believe that person sees the vision of you that you have for yourself and buys into it, and they want the same thing for you that you want for yourself. But obviously, this conversation shows that that's not necessarily the case. You could want the best for your partner and definitely support them in their pursuit without agreeing that what they're doing for themselves is the best thing for you or the best thing for you two together as a couple. And I think that is a very nuanced but very important conversation that a lot of couples don't ever get to the point of having. And it sometimes comes off in a way of like, this is what I need from you. Okay, baby, well, this is what I'm gonna do for you, and vice versa. When realistically, I think there needs to be a level of respect and reverence given to a person's own ideology for themselves, right? Talk to this person about what picture do they have in their head of their most successful self, and reconcile that with what you need from that person and what you see as their most successful version of being a partner. And then taking the discrepancies, the gaps, and the missteps and the things that don't necessarily go together, and like actually figuring out, can you work it out? Can you guys get to a place, because the difference in how I identify myself as a man and how you see me as your man can mean all the difference between whether we stay together or whether we're, another statistic. And it's not as easy as it sounds. I think there are a lot of times that people look at characteristics, they look at character traits and try to extrapolate that into, okay, well, this person does this well, they do this well, they do this instinctively. So I can see all of those things being shaped and them transforming into this thing that I actually want from them the entire time. Women do it to men, men do it to women. It's hard, right? Because you're conditioned, and it makes sense previous to this conversation. It makes sense that things go along that way. But realistically, we come together as two individuals, and we're trying to see, does this thing work together? And I think that there's something to be said to revere that and respect that process and actually allow a person to express exactly who they are and exactly who they want to be. And then, decide in real time whether you actually want to deal with it. It's funny how many people get into relationships and then they've been together for a long time, and then a situation comes up and they're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I don't even know you. Well, I think this is part of the reason. Because I think people are having the wrong types of conversations. They're spending all this time, in the hopes that they're getting to know the person that they're with, but they're not asking any questions. The things that they're asking are very general. Not that they're not important, but they're not really getting to know the pieces of that person that are actually going to affect their ability to be a couple, or even determine whether they would be a good couple. Sometimes you can have two people that are amazing, but they're just not meant to be together. And I'm speaking from personal experiences. I'm not judging anyone else's relationship. I'm saying that that's a reality because I've experienced it. And again, also, I feel like I've experienced the scenario of feeling like it's my job to provide. And within that provision, it requires a certain level of participation, a certain amount of time that I'm not available for my family for me to do all of the other things that I could do. And it's just, I don't know, it's sad, it's tragic even, that this is the manner with which a majority of our relationships are managed. And I think if people just kind of stopped and asked a couple questions, the common sense of this thing would actually wake right up, and people might actually be able to have meaningful discussions and investigations and just learning in a real way how we can show up for each other and then how we are showed up for. So I think that's something to be explored. I know for myself, I spend a lot of time trying to figure out me, what makes me happy, what makes me sad, what I want out of life. And I'm hopefully taking that information into a space where, and if you have any questions, comment, subscribe. I want to be active in the chat. Again, you can copy the link in my bio for the YouTube channel. That's where the podcast lives. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss when I drop new content. Again, this is The Truth Lies Here. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.